Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're diving into something that's probably on a lot of minds.
Hmm.
The huge password leaks we saw in 2025.
Yeah.
It's been a really tough year for digital security. I mean, billions of email and password combos exposed. It puts
Yeah.
millions of you out there at risk.
Absolutely, and that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive today. Our goal really is to break down what actually happened,
Right.
understand why it matters so much, and most importantly, give you some concrete steps you can take to protect yourself.
Okay.
It's about getting that critical knowledge, quickly so you can navigate this whole digital world a bit more safely.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's get into some of the biggest leaks we've seen recently.
Mhm.
Now we start with the COMB leak. That's COMB, stands for Compilation of Many Breaches.
Right.
Found in May 2025. And this wasn't like a single hack, was it? It was this enormous data set.
Yeah.
Over 3.2 billion unique email and password pairs.
Yeah, it's staggering.
Pulled together from, well, thousands of older breaches,
Right.
and now it's just out there, freely available online.
And the real danger with CMB, it's the scale, yes, but also what it represents. You're looking at potentially maybe 70% of global internet users possibly having data in there?
70%. Wow.
Yeah. And the core idea, the insight here, is that CMB takes all this old, forgotten data, maybe from breaches years ago.
Stuff you thought was long gone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it weaponizes it. It compiles it, making it easy for cybercriminals to use now to try and get into your current accounts. Your bank, your email, everything.
So even if you changed passwords after an old breach.
Well, if that old password is in CMB and maybe you reused it somewhere else later or used a similar pattern, they can still try it. So the first thing, really, for anyone listening, use a good, reputable data breach checker. See if your email is flagged. It's not just wise anymore. It's pretty much essential. You need to be proactive.
Okay, so COMB shows how old data gets, well, re-weaponized through compilation. But what about when the passwords themselves are just exposed? Naked, essentially.
Yeah. That brings us to the RockU 2024 leak, July 2024.
And this one is particularly chilling, right? Because it's nearly 10 billion passwords, but they're plain text.
Plain text, exactly.
Meaning, for anyone less familiar, just totally unencrypted, like typing it out in Notepad.
Yeah, just readable text. And it's kind of an update or a successor to that infamous RockU breach from 2021, but now with newer data folded in from lots of other sources too.
10 billion plain text passwords.
What's really concerning here and kind of connects the dots is how one leak like this makes other risks even bigger.
How is so?
With RockU 2024, that massive list of plain text passwords is basically fuel for something called credential stuffing attacks.
Okay, credential stuffing. Can you break that down quickly? Why is plain text data so bad for that?
Sure. So imagine hackers get your email and password from, say, an old forum breach. It's in plain text, easy to read. Credential stuffing is just them taking that exact email and password pair and trying it automatically on hundreds of other sites. Your bank, Amazon, Netflix, social media, everywhere.
Because people reuse passwords.
Exactly. They bank on password reuse. And plain text makes this incredibly easy, almost trivial for automated attacks. So the real insight from RockU 2024 is maybe the weakest link isn't always some super sophisticated hack.
It's us, our habits.
Often, yeah. It's that human habit of convenience reusing passwords. It's a really stark reminder that just one exposed password, if you've used it elsewhere, can potentially unlock your entire digital life.
Oof.
Which tells you immediately, unique, strong passwords for every account, not just a nice to have, it's critical, non-negotiable.
And that's where password managers come in, I guess.
Absolutely, they become invaluable. They generate those long, complex, unique passwords and remember them for you. Takes the burden off.
Okay, that makes total sense. And then almost right alongside these, May 2025 again, there was another plain text exposure. 184 million usernames and passwords.
That's right. Also in plain text.
And the alarming part here, it wasn't just some obscure website, right? This involved data linked to massive platforms: Google, Apple, Microsoft, Instagram.
Indeed. And this specific incident, it really hammers home the absolute importance of encryption. When data's out there in plain text, no protection at all.
It's just wide open.
Exactly. The impact is immediate and severe, a really high risk of identity theft, unauthorized account access. There's just no barrier for the attackers.
So what's the immediate fix if you think you might be in that breach?
Change those passwords immediately, especially for the big accounts mentioned. And critically, enable two-factor authentication, 2FA. everywhere you possibly can.
We keep hearing about 2FA.
Because it works. It adds that second check,
Yeah.
a code from your phone, an app notification, something you have. It makes it so much harder for hackers to get in, even if they somehow got your password. It's a really powerful layer.
Got it. Okay, one more major one to cover. The AT&T breach, June 2025.
Great, AT&T.
They reported 86 million customer records are compromised, including, and this is the really scary part, over 44 million social security numbers.
Yeah, SSNs are the crown jewels for identity thieves.
And apparently, this data was decrypted and then shared on a Russian cybercrime forum.
That's the report. And if we, connect this to the bigger picture, AT&T really shows the direct financial and, personal fallout.
Beyond just getting locked out of Netflix.
Dude, way beyond. When sensitive data like social security numbers gets out, the risk skyrockets. We're talking serious identity theft, financial fraud, loans taken out in your name.
So the response has to be different for that kind of breach.
It does. While changing passwords is still good practice, for something exposing your SSN, you must monitor your credit reports vigilantly, like check them frequently.
Okay.
And seriously, consider signing up for an identity protection service. They monitor for misuse of your SSN and other personal info across the web, dark web included. It highlights that security isn't just about passwords, it's about protecting all your personally identifiable information.
So we've laid out the scale of the problem: COMB, RockU, plain text exposures,
Yeah.
SSNs. It's a lot. Definitely a wake-up call.
A massive one.
Which brings us to the crucial part. What can we actually do? How do we protect ourselves? Thankfully, there are steps.
That's right. And the first one, the most immediate foundational step, change your passwords. Update your online accounts, especially if you know you've reused passwords. That's job number one.
Okay, changing passwords. Sounds obvious, but for most people, that feels like a mountain to climb. Are there common mistakes people make when they try to tackle this besides just, not reusing them?
That's a really good point. A big mistake is just changing a few passwords, maybe your bank, your main email.
Thinking that covers the important stuff.
Right. But attackers will try all your accounts if they have credentials, so you need to be comprehensive. Another pitfall is not actually checking first. Use those breach checkers we mentioned. Find out where you were exposed so you can prioritize.
Know your weak points.
Exactly. And when you do change them, make them strong, long, mix of characters, symbols, numbers, unique for every single site.
Which sounds impossible to remember.
Which is why, again, use a password manager. Seriously, it makes creating and storing unique, complex passwords totally manageable. Takes that whole burden away.
Okay, so a full audit, use a manager for strong, unique passwords. Got it. What's the next critical layer?
Two-factor authentication, 2FA. We touched on it, but it deserves repeating because it's so effective.
That second check.
Yep. Enable it wherever it's offered. Social media, email, banking, shopping sites, everywhere. It's usually pretty easy to set up, maybe using an app on your phone or getting a text code.
And that stops them even if they have the password.
In most cases, yes, because they don't have that second factor, your phone, usually. It's a huge barrier, incredibly effective layer.
Okay, password sorted, 2FA on. What about, ongoing vigilance?
Right, it's not a one-and-done thing. You need to monitor your accounts regularly.
Just keep an eye out.
Yeah. Check your bank statements often. Look at login activity for your email, your social media. Does anything look weird? Unfamiliar logins, strange locations. Be proactive. It's like regularly checking the locks on your digital doors.
Makes sense. And then there's the constant stream of scam attempts.
Yeah.
Phishing emails, dodgy texts.
And that's the final key piece. Be incredibly wary of phishing.
Those fake emails or messages trying to trick you.
Exactly. And the danger now is that scammers can use info from these breaches to make their phishing attempts look more legitimate. They might know your name, email, maybe even an old password hint.
Making them more convincing.
Much more. So the rule is never, ever click on links or open attachments in emails or messages from unknown senders, or even if it looks like it's from a known company but feels unexpected or asks for sensitive info.
Verify first?
Always verify. If an email asks you to log in or change details, don't click the link. Go directly to the official website yourself by typing the address in your browser or use the official app. A quick check can save you a world of hurt.
It really is easy to feel a bit, overwhelmed looking at these numbers. Billions of passwords, plain text, Social security numbers. It paints a pretty intimidating picture.
Yeah.
Almost makes you want to disconnect everything.
I get that feeling. Or, invest heavily in a really good password manager to handle the hard stuff.
Right.
But you're right, it is a lot to process. The key thing, though, is to recognize that while the threats are definitely significant, the defenses, many of them are actually within our control.
So, wrapping this up, what does this all really mean for you listening? Well, with billions of passwords exposed, it's pretty clear nobody is totally safe unless they take some action.
Direct action.
Breaches like COMB and RockU 2024, they just underscore how critical good password hygiene is now. And adopting those broader security practices like 2FA and monitoring, it's not really optional anymore, is it? It's fundamental for just using the internet safely.
Exactly. And maybe that leads us to a final thought for you today. Think about this. Digital security isn't just about reacting when a breach hits the news.
Cleaning up the mess afterwards.
Right. It's really about building proactive, consistent habits. Think of it like building digital resilience. So consider this. How can establishing strong digital habits now, not just because of today's news, but as an ongoing practice, how can that actually empower you, make you an active participant in keeping yourself safe online rather than just, hoping you're protected? It's about being thoughtful and deliberate with your digital footprint in a world that's constantly changing.